recently retired from your post as DGM Process Development at NOCIL.
Yeah.
How do you really feel? Did you see this coming, or what phase are you in right now?
Okay. Well, I was prepared for retirement. One thing was that because I completed 60 years in 2014.
Okay.
Now, after 2014, the management extended it by 2 more years, again by 2 more years, again by 2 more years. By just writing 2 lines, you continue to remain in same post, and you will continue to get same benefits as you were getting as DG. So that was 2 liner coming from MD's office every time.
Why do you think that they were continuously pushing the?
Well, NOCIL needed me and I needed NOCIL. It is vice versa.
Right.
So there were a lot of projects coming in,
Okay.
and I had completed few projects successfully. So
Right.
they wanted me to continue. That's how it was.
Right.
And
To see through the entire project. Is that?
yes. See, my actually when I took up a project in Dahej, and that time we found a lot of problem with the process. We found a lot of process problem in implementation stage. See, once you take up a project, you study project at lab scale, you do in pilot plant scale,
Right.
and then you scale it to plant. That is where the problem was, and that's how I was put into R&D. So implementation part I was looking at.
Okay.
So on the project which undergoes the trials has to
Right.
be implemented by me.
Right.
That's how it was.
And how do you feel now that you have retired? Finally, after
Okay.
4 extensions, I think.
3 years.
3 extensions.
Actually, retirement you get filled with a lot of I would say my right feelings. One thing is this transition. Now it's like going to kindergarten. Get up, get ready, go out, come back, eat and sleep. But okay, I had a job ready for me. People were asking me to join them.
Right.
So I was prepared for it with my kids well settled, having good home. So I was prepared for it. So, but anyway, the day of the retirement, there were a lot of speeches, people talking good things about me, telling a lot of lies also. But okay, a lot of tears also. Like many people are unhappy that I am doing. See, but some people must be also happy seeing my back. But it is part of life.
Right. Right. So what phase are you in now? What are you looking at? What's the next step?
See, I feel I did a good job.
Right.
Whatever assignment responsibilities were given, I completed. That's how it was reflecting in my appraisals every year. That's how it was reflecting in the increments I got. That it was reflecting also on the higher assignment which I was getting. So I was filled with joy that okay, I accomplished something.
Right. So you might have retired from NOCIL, but are you retiring otherwise also, or you still looking at an active?
I am retired but not tired. So that's how it is there. I have not spent much time with family, so I am planning a lot of planning trips, 2 days trip, 3 days trip.
Nice.
And also looking after there are some assignment from pharma industries.
Okay.
So those I am fulfilling.
So still active.
Yeah, one should.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was studying my engineering, I always wondered what would I have to study to become like him or her. Like when you look up to someone, you're always like wondering, right? Like what was their process? What was their journey like? What step did they take? So if I were to ask, what would one have to do, or what would be the process or path that one would have to take to pursue a career that you finally
Okay. I see. I wanted to do engineering,
Okay.
but I could not do it because of financial problems. My dad had retired by the time I completed my 10. I did my BSc, but I used to study a lot.
So what year was this?
I completed BSc in 1973. Maybe you were not born.
25 years before I was born.
Yeah. So, but I used to refer a lot of textbook. I used to spend a lot of time in library. But I also used to read a lot of books on Wright brothers.
Okay.
See, if you know Wright brothers who invented or the first airplane was flown by them.
Right.
Now they had not gone to college. What I read about them is that they were into that father was into printing industry. They did a lot of good work in printing, and then they started marketing bicycles. They were making and selling bicycles. So they were making very light bicycles, and the amount of which they were earning, extra amount was spent on inventing on aeronautical engineering, and that's how they made the airplane and they flew on it. So I would one thing I could understand that education you can get anywhere. It's not that you have to go to only colleges.
Right.
But I had some limitation. I could not do engineering, but I did BSc. I did MSc in nuclear physics from Wadhone Research Center. So that's how my education started.
Right. So when you said that you believe that education does not necessarily have to come in a formal way, so could you tell us a little more as to if somebody?
See, when I joined NOCIL and we were putting up a plant in the east, I was interviewing a lot of chemical engineers.
Okay.
Now I was finding that most of the chemical engineers, they are reading through the notes. They are not reading textbooks. I used to ask them, how did you come for interview?
Notes of the seniors, or what kind of notes? When you said they were studying
Notes from the chemical engineering books,
Okay.
textbooks.
Okay.
Now, like I used to ask them, how did you come for interview? This is a two-wheeler chala ke hai. I said, why there are first gear or second gear, third gear? They don't know. Why you have to start the vehicle on first gear first? They don't know. I said, how things work? I remember my dad used to bring some books, which is title was How Things Work. A lot of things in that. How a bicycle works, or how a electrical meter works. There are many things which man has to learn. It is not the knowledge is available everywhere,
Right.
but then you should be able to read. Reading brings a lot of knowledge, I feel.
So that was always your go-to space for.
Yes.
Any specific books that has really impacted you in your reading years of?
I was reading most of the science fictions.
Okay.
I was reading a lot of textbook connected to my studies.
Right.
I was not reading a lot of novels, but I was reading a lot of books, textbook connected to my field of work or field of study.
So I think your direction was very clear. You just wanted to explore more, get more in detail in that space.
Yeah, I wanted to do something in science, and but see what had happened when I graduated. I did BSc. I was merit list, and I didn't want to go further because I knew that if I had to go in engineering, I had to stay in hospital, which possibly it's not possible here. See, my son who was studying, he did masters in USC, he could work off time, right? But this is not possible in India. So then, okay, I was preparing for further exams. I got into tanks and got selected. But then I was interviewed for Harvard Research Center, and they were recruiting scientific assistants.
Okay.
So I attended that interview there. This was my first exposure or first entry to Harvard Research Center. If you have gone to that area, it's a very beautiful place. One side is the sea, other side is mountains. Now what DRC has done, they have one side of the mountain is full gardens.
Right.
They call it one of the best gardens in Asia. Very beautifully made. very beautiful road inside, very beautiful buildings constructed inside. Each building is named in different way, and I could see a lot of painting done by Homi Baba. I was impressed. A scientist can be such a good painter, such a good artist.
Right.
So I was really impressed. The way the whole setup is made, the way buildings are constructed, the way roads are made, the way each buildings are connected to each other is really impressive, really impressive. So that was my first exposure to Wadhone Center.
You joined as?
I joined as scientific assistant. I got promoted to scientific officer.
Okay.
Then I joined in plutonium plant there in our research center. Now plutonium plant, what they were doing is the spent fuel which comes from atomic reactor.
Right.
Now atomic reactors are converting, making electricity. Okay. Now this is the nuclear energy, the fissile energy of this nuclear atoms are used for converting it to heat energy, and that's how the water is get heated and you convert it to steam and run the turbine to generate the electricity. Now this spent fuel, the fuel will become spent after some time. Now uranium, which is used as a fuel, will get converted to many other molecules. Now these molecules are to be separated. I was doing that in plutonium plant, where we are segregating fissile plutonium-239 from the spent fuel. Okay. Now from here I was transferred to fuel processing plant, which was put up in Tarapur. Now Tarapur, we have a Tarapur power station and fuel processing. Now I started working in fuel processing plant, which was getting fuel from Tarapur Atomic Power Station, Rajasthan Atomic Power Station, and Madras Atomic Power Station. So that was my journey started from USA.
How long were you with them? How many years?
I was with them for 5 years.
Oh. This was post your MSc, right?
I was yeah.
Post MSc.
Yes.
What happened after that? The NOCIL come immediately after the years?
No, I was staying in Tarapur,
Okay.
beautiful township. I was bachelor and 3-room flat given. There's a club, so every 4 days there are 2 days off. So I'll be spending a lot of time in swimming pool, playing basketball, playing football, and watching movies in the club. Then, but the plant is not working. Fuel processing plant for which I have been employed, I am supposed to make 3 kg of plutonium. There are a lot of scientists involved.
Right.
I am one of them. We are supposed to make 3 kg of plutonium, but we are making 3 milligram. So
That's a huge
just
difference.
imagine the difference between 3000 milligram to 3 milligram, 1000 times.
Yes.
Okay, and things are going very slowly because of government company.
Right.
And I got bored. I got a call from IPC Baroda. I joined that. They were again into safety, polyester fabric. They were making polyester chips, which is used for making polyester yarn, and then yarn is converted to fabric. Now this plant was into they had bought the land, they were erecting it, so they asked me whether you can join them. So my job there was erection, commissioning, and again some debottlenecking. And one of my boss who had joined Polyester, one day he called me up there. Now Baroda also I set up a very good township. A similar setup as BRC colony. But okay, here the production volumes, the responsibility, or the pressure was quite high because you have to produce. It's not a government company,
Right.
so you have to make profit. So that's how the pressure was high there, and One of my ex-boss who had joined Orchepolis, he called me because this is a ultra modern plant and Swiss experts are working here and let's put up a good plant here. Can you join? I said okay. So that's how I came to Mumbai. And Mumbai being my hometown, I joined Orchepolis. Now Orchepolis, I was plant superintendent. My boss was vice president at that time there. And we put up a good plant. It's a fully optimized plant. Process was by Aquageber and the engineering was done by DGM Engineering Germany. So they sustain sun and sand, bottle sun and sand, and travel all the way to Ghatalia. But they were workaholic. They will. I could see them, standing on a controller 8 hours at a stretch. Like very workaholic. And there I could find out that their chemical engineer would be an electrical engineer. He would be electronics engineer. He will be civil engineer. All into one. I was mesmerized the education which they undergo. They make a complete engineer. And they being workaholic, they were doing a good job. But then, okay. That time, Orchepolyester, Bombardine, who is making dimethyl terephthalate, and Reliance. Reliance was 70 crore company, Orche was 120 crore company, and Bombardine was something like 300 to 400 crores. There are a lot of politics involved, and somehow Reliance started expanding by killing these two industries. Now salaries started getting. That's when I got an offer from polyolefins industry, which became NOCIL. Polyolefins industries were already running a plant at Wadhone, now Navi Mumbai. So I joined there. Now coming from Orchepolis, which was a fully automated air-conditioned plant, I joined polyolefins industry. Now first day it was 27th of July, raining very heavily. I still remember that day. And the plant which I was asked to take over was flooded with black color water, chemicals. People had put wooden pallets and walking like monkeys over them.
So what year would this be? Around what time? This is what year?
Year, it was 1987. Okay. 27th of July 1987. That day I still remember. Plant flooded with water, full manual operations, and no written down procedure how things. I was asked to take training in the plant. Okay, that day I went home, I could not sleep whole night. I said, what the hell this plant is? There are chemicals everywhere, there are no proper drains, no training schedule given to me on first day. Now, but slowly I started learning. Now, my colleagues who were of the same level of management, they were not willing to teach me. They used to say, I could hear them in the change room, सिखाने का नहीं अपने सिर पे बैठेगा. So that was, but offers were good. So I started learning from them. And maybe after 6 months there was an accident in adjoining plant. There was a big explosion and the whole plant burned down. Now
this is also NOCIL.
NOCIL. That time polyolefins.
Yeah.
But then it taught a great lesson to management. Let's go for optimization. Let's go for the data procedure. Let's bring ISO, quality management system, environment management system, and OSHA's. This is Occupational Health and Safety Awareness Series. Right? So management took a great decision of going for automation, going for all this ISO certification, and that's how now things got changed. Now we started getting audits. It means you have to maintain housekeeping, you have to maintain your work instruction, you have to undergo audit every 6 months. Now things changed, drastically changed. Then I became plant in charge for pre-work time. They were making, the NOCIL that time was into rubber chemicals.
Right.
The chemicals which are used for processing of rubber. So any rubber things you see, these chemicals have been added in some way or the other. It can be antioxidant, it can be accelerator, it can be pre-vulcanizing inhibitor. So I became plant in charge for the pre-vulcanizing inhibitor plant with first program logical controls, selected operators. We increased the production from 30 tons to 120 tons. And it was great in demand that time. It was selling like hotcakes. So that was a good assignment. And I was happy to accomplish it. Then I was put to another plant, which was a much bigger plant. So one day boss called me, Vilas, will you take over antioxidant plant? I said, boss, this is swimming pool and that is a sea. That much difference. He said, well, so what? If you learn swimming in swimming pool, why you can learn swimming in sea also? I said, okay, boss, let's take a try. Now, something like from a plant which is operated by 20 operators, you need to 100 operators and a lot of sections to the plant. Okay, I took over. The plant was having a lot of problems. It was one of the plant making about 200 tons of production per month. We increased to 650 tons. Same plant. One of my the one plant in charge who was heading that plant was he came back for visiting this plant after about 10 years. He asked me, Vilas, how many reactors you put? I said, same, one reactor. He said, no, we are struggling to make 90 tons in the reactor. You are saying you can make 600 tons in the same reactor. I said, boss, we did a lot of changes. He could not believe his eyes. But okay, the credit goes to the whole team, not the one person alone. And that is when Mr. Dev, who is now managing director of NOCIL, I was impressed a lot from him. He will talk about design, always talk about design. What is the design capacity? What is the design of an equipment? So he'll always go into depth.
Is this process design?
Process designs. Okay. And we also had one consultant, one Mr. Wadhone coming from Holland, and he was into rubber chemicals. This was a Monsanto plant in Holland. So because the plant earlier days was not doing well, so they used to call the consultant, and he used to see, and he was a good support to me.
Right.
He taught me many things because he also brought that Monsanto plant from certain capacity to much higher capacity. So Mr. Dev, Mr. Wadhone, they were one of the people who inspired me a lot.
So is this a standard practice that somebody from overseas is called as a consultant who's also running a similar industry?
Actually, what had happened after this accident in one plant? Now this plant which I was plant in charge had a reaction which is called a runaway reaction. Runaway reaction in the sense, once you start a reaction, you are not able to control it. Now this runaway reaction means it will evolve a lot of heat, and ultimately the heat will be so much. It is producing the heat, it is producing the oxygen, and there can be a big explosion. Now, company was always thinking that if something happens like that, what should be our, what should be the safeguards? So, Eddie Verland was coming from one side, they also had similar reactions, and they also had an uncontrolled reaction where they had an explosion. So, he used to be called for safety, he used to be called from some process optimization. So that's how the consultation started. But yeah, I could see him. He was staying in our colony. NOCIL had a retreat colony in front of NOCIL in that adjoining village. But he will walk, he will run, morning get up, run 5 miles. So, and then then he will take a bicycle and come into plant. So great guy, coming from Holland and so down to earth. And canteen also, people, the canteen guys will prepare a lot of good things in there, but he will eat our dal and his sandwiches we will cover up. That's how, but a great evening with him.
So when you entered this industry, this space, this professional space, what was the biggest challenge that you had to deal with in your professional?
Okay, the biggest challenge was, as I told you, the first day of my entering the plant was, I could never imagine that plant can be so dirty.
Right.
So the challenge was improving housekeeping. Challenge was improving the moral of people who are working there. Challenge was to bring up the productivity. Challenge was to bring that productivity at such a rate that we have enough margin to sell this. Challenge was to improve the effluent. Effluent used to be very bad. The chemical oxygen demand of that used to be a few lakhs. Normally you should be doing 200 ppm, 250 ppm. It was few lakhs. So there were many challenges, and to improve the safety standards, improve the accidents, reduce accidents. I still remember there was an accident in the plant. There was a contractor guy, Sardaji, working, and he is opening a line which is under pressure. He opened the branches. There is a permit system. The permit was given without depressurizing. See, he had a splash on his face. And we were associated with a hospital in Washi. I do not name it. So he was taken because he got a canvas. I was sent there. He says, Vilas, go and see how is that guy there. So his wife was there. Typical Sardari with Kripan. And this guy cannot illiterate. One, he knows how to open or close some pages. This fellow, I said, Benji, Chinta mat kare, something like that. That lady spoke to me in English. Who the hell issued the permit? I was honest here. This guy working with me cannot read the permit, and his wife talking English, who the hell issued the permit? I went up, called up my boss. He says, boss, this is a problem. That lady is talking about permits, it means she knows all legal things. Boss said, but okay, we handled it, and association with NOCIL brought up a lot of changes in safety standard. Right. The earlier days there used to be accidents, a lot of accidents. We came down to nil accidents.
That's a long way.
It's a long way, but we did it. NOCIL was instrumental in implementing all those changes. A lot of changes took place.
So you mentioned a little while back, on a personal note, you had a few challenges in learning when you joined NOCIL. Yes. Or so So can you tell us a little as to how did you overcome that challenge of anyhow you were wanting to learn, so how did you overcome this?
Actually, earlier days there was no documented procedures.
Okay.
Now, what NOCIL, when they were growing, there are two more departments came into. One was process development group, and other was technical process engineering and technology.
Okay.
Now, these two departments which came in, now any process, are we doing right? First thing.
Okay.
Can we make some changes? Can we take some trials in the lab scale? Whether this process can be slightly modified so that we have better yield, we have less users of raw materials, and whether we can make it more safer. Now, introduction of these two departments started making a lot of changes. It means there used to be technical committees, technical discussion, and the production team used to be part of doing that trials. Now you do a lab trial, and if lab trial is successful, you do plant trials.
Okay.
And you start making a lot of documentations, right? What way you to do. And there is a lot of what they call is plant modification form and tentative process amendment. Now once you go for a process amendment, it will go through a lot of people. It will go to safety, it will go to engineering. So everybody will write their comments. And you take some trial, generate a report, what way you are seeing a changes. So that's how you make a report on improvements which took place.
Right.
And then after everything is okay, then only implementation used to take place. So that was a learning, because then you are reading a lot. You are reading what there's one was in process development group, Dr. Nandi. He will always tell me, you don't know that, you don't know something. It means when I read something, Monsignor is doing that. Or this process has, which I do not know because I have never read it.
Right.
You know only which you have read, which you have seen.
Right.
But you do not know which you have not read, you have not seen. So that used to be eye-opener, that, oh, I don't know this. So they brought in something like knowledge management system.
Okay.
It means you have a process, you have an experiment to be done.
Uh-huh.
Now you read a lot of textbook, you go through web and you find out how many ways it can be done. Then you design your design of experiment, the way you want to do it. It means you undergo this and keep on eliminating one by one. So that knowledge management system did work a lot for us. Because you are reading a few things, you are experimenting it, doing it practically, going per scale and seeing the results.
So the entire management was involved with this knowledge management
Yes.
system in
Yes.
creating this for the entire
Yes.
team.
Yes.
I'll slightly drift towards a different side now. What is the best advice that you've received in your professional span that has impacted you the most in your life?
Best advice, I would say I can take few names. One was Dr. Nandi. He says you stick to the task. First.
He's still active, right?
Yeah.
He's still active.
Yes. You stick to the task. And one was Mr. Dev, who is MD now. Many times he will say, Vilas, there's some problem in the MCC.
What is
MCC is Motor Control Center, electrical.
Okay.
I am doing a chemical engineering plant. I am taking care of the plant. I have utilities, different engineers. But say, can you, Jamil ka, he'll talk sometimes Marathi, can you do it? Now you go into MCCs, you learn all the, see, once he says whether you can do it, it means you go, you study, you find out what is the problem, you correct the problem and put back in the working condition. So it means once he says whether you can do it, like when I was put for the age, civil I was not doing much. I have forklift driving, I used to drive because there's nobody. But he says, Vilas, you can do it. Ha sir, I can do it. And now you start, you stay awake whole night, read about civil engineering, whether you have to do pressure piling or you have to do different way. But he will always next day he will discuss, and he will, if job is well done, he will not talk anything at all.
Right.
But then he'll come out with a lot of suggestions, a lot of advice, and he will be a moral booster, I would say. Because I used to see him studying a lot.
Okay.
The age we were staying very close to plant in a hotel. He also would be staying in similar room, although he is ND level. Same room which I occupy, his room also is like that. When he come for dinner in the night, because I used to go late, he will be having update on Wimbledon. He will update on the news which has happened. He will update on chemical engineering weekly, which is published in the morning.
Right.
I said, this man is MD, taking care of the plant, he's taking care of finance, taking care of management, everything. But he keeps himself updated on so many other things. What kind of person and where does he find time?
Yeah.
I still cannot imagine how does he find time. Really?
Did you ever get a chance to ask him this?
Many times. He says, Vilas, padhta rehta hu. He keeps on reading a lot.
Right. So I think that's where you picked up the whole
Yes.
reading culture as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mentioned about Dr. Nandi as well? To stay focused or to stay at task. What do you really mean by it?
Right. Okay. Dr. Nandi, I would say he's 24 hours on the job. In the sense, when we were, before we put in the his plant, we were working on this technology. So he'll be virtually in the plant. That is not existing, but virtually he is moving in the plant. He is seeing the, although he is from process development group, which has nothing to do with plant, but he would be imagining the things, and he will call you up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Vilas, ये problem है, क्या कुछ किया क्या? हाँ sir, मैं देखता हूँ. But he will be calling you anytime. It means I used to think initially I used to be irritated, but I used to think if he is calling at 4 o'clock in the morning, it means he is also working on that project, right? But he will be always, he says you stick to the plan, go into depth, read a lot, make your notes, don't just read, make notes, read those notes again, modify those notes, and he says you'll come out with solutions. Very, very workaholic, but with very deep understanding, deep knowledge,
And extreme level of focus.
very focused. See, I used to go reach plant 6:40 to 7. He comes around 10:30. He says, Vilas, तेरा boss तो इतना late आता है, why you come early? But I am telling you, 7 o'clock onwards, he will be talking to each and every member of group, like what trial you are doing, what yesterday you have not done, where you have gone wrong. So up to 9:30, sometimes he is walking up to the department and still talking to someone. But continuous focus. And I don't know, we that time we were in process development of about 25 people. I could see him sitting in cabin reading laptop, but 6 o'clock he'll say, oh, that guy has not done this work. I said, how do you don't have cameras, But I don't know how mentally he traces everybody.
Right.
Tracking each and every action, tracking each and every experiment, tracking each and every results, and how it can be improved upon. But a great person.
Considering your extensive level of experience that you've had over so many years, I'm sure you must have mentored a lot of junior level or entry level officers or executives who would have joined NOCIL and even other places. Now, if somebody is watching who is from that space, in that span of career, what would you suggest them? Anything that you could suggest them?
See, initially what happens when a new person comes in there, some people first they do is they brush him off. That is the question. I never did that.
Okay.
Because everybody has gone through that stage
Right.
where initial hand-holding is always required. Hand-holding is always required. Like I was also taught by operators. Okay, I was not taught by management, but taught by operators, but they were holding my hands. Team building, it means he should get opened up. You can say that morning what time you come with me. You talk to him about his family. He starts opening up. He starts telling you his problems. He starts telling you the problem which he is facing while doing experiment. Problems which he is telling you that he doesn't have a internet service on his PC. How does he learn new things? Come on, take my laptop, read it. Okay, you give him only one laptop, but then he will find his way how to get the internet and start reading. He'll start reading on his mobile. And also I have found that some people, some higher-ups can be very fast also with some people. They can be really fast. One day I remember one of my very junior guy, he was sitting in his desk, but then DS and I said, "Kya ho gaya?" He said, "Because I have applied for some foreign university and I was to do MS outside. But NOCIL said that we cannot give any certificate that you are working here or you are working as supervisor." I said, "Ghar aa jao, main bana ke deta hu." I gave him the certificate. He said, "Boss, management will take action." I said, "ठीक है ना." Now, okay, nothing happened to it. He got into masters. Last time when I went to meet my son in Seattle, USA, he came all the way to meet me. Okay, that is reward. That is the reward.
Must be a great feeling.
Yes, there are a lot of people who were with me, not doing anything, but doing very well now, doing very well. But initial handholding, initial teaching, initial sharing,
Right.
differently brings a lot of encouragement to them.
Right. Now, flipping the side, let's say somebody has joined and is going through this phase.
Yes.
What would you probably suggest? Like how you, even though you didn't get that kind of hand-holding from your management, but you took it up. Okay, I'll take it from the operators.
Yes.
So what would you suggest a junior to look at, the approach?
See, when a junior is coming and see, now things have changed a lot. Once you have brought this ISO, it means your document is available. You can read a lot. Now one should, before I let what we have done, any new person comes, there is a training model. Right? Now he undergoes that model. He will go to meet this person. Where he'll sit. First of all, when a new person comes, where he'll sit. What are things applicable to whether PC he will be getting, whether internet will be available, whether he will be getting a lock and key drawer. Those things will be there. Now once he joins and he start training, it means initial 3 days will be his induction training. Those days nothing was there, formatted things were not. Now this is a formatted thing. So it is he will undergo induction training. Now after induction is over, then you go to you start working with a senior guy who knows the things. You start working with them. It can happen now that senior guy doesn't teach him much. It can happen now also. But then I would say that he has to learn himself many things.
How? Like, what's your
Okay. Now suppose you are working on a project. Let's say you are doing a distillation process. Now distillation process, if you study textbook, you study those chemicals and start giving your input, definitely that fellow will start giving you more responsibility. It means you have to study a lot on that project and give suggestion to get yourself inducted into his mind. Otherwise, he will say you don't know anything. He will keep on ignoring you and you will remain at the same level.
Right.
It means you have to study a lot on that and give suggestion to come into limelight. You have to shine. Otherwise, you will be, nobody will look at you. You have to shine.
Right. It's a very interesting
Yeah.
suggestion for sure.